The photograph was filed under Getty Images Catalog Number G20240847. It ran in 43 publications. The following morning, in the photograph, an elderly man in a tuxedo is crouching on a lawn, picking something up from the mud with both hands. In the background, slightly out of focus, a woman in a red dress is standing completely still. The woman's name was Lydia Ashworth. She was, at the time the photograph was taken, the leading candidate for the United States Senate seat from the state of New York. She was not the leading candidate. By the following morning, the Hamptons Gala had been 4 months in the planning. 400 guests, 12 accredited press photographers, a lawn that had been cut to a specific height 2 days before the event, string lights, white tablecloths, the specific floral arrangements of an event where every detail is a decision, and every decision is a message. Lydia Ashworth had approved every detail personally. She had been good at this for 22 years of public life, at understanding what rooms required, what cameras wanted, what the gap was between the thing you were and the thing you needed people to see. She did not notice, at first, that her daughter was not where she was supposed to be. Maya Ashworth was 24 years old. She had been to events like this one more times than she could count, and had developed, over the years, a working understanding of where to stand and how to stand there and what expression to wear while standing. What she had not gotten good at was the feeling underneath it, the specific, electrical wrongness that arrived without announcement and without explanation. No one at the Hamptons Gala was paying close attention to Maya Ashworth. She was standing at the eastern edge of the lawn, breathing in the way that people breathe when breathing has become something that requires conscious management. 2 servers passed her. A photographer swept past. A woman she didn't know said something about her mother's speech and moved on without waiting for a response. The man who stopped was pushing a wine trolley. He was wearing the uniform of the catering company, a specific shade of blue, chosen to be unobtrusive. He was 38 years old. His name was Caleb Reed. He stopped the trolley. He looked at Maya. He did not ask her if she was all right. He simply sat down on the grass in his catering uniform at a 400-person fundraiser in the Hamptons with a wine trolley beside him. He sat down on the grass next to a young woman who was breathing like someone who had forgotten how. He said nothing for a moment. Then he reached into his breast pocket. He took out a compass. It was old. The casing was scratched along one edge. The glass was intact. The needle was steady. He held it out to her. She took it. She looked at it. The needle doesn't care where you are, he said. That's what I like about it. You can be completely lost, and it still tells you the same thing. Maya looked at the needle. North, she said. North, he said. Her breathing began to do what breathing does when the thing that was wrong has been given a frame to sit in. Whose is it? She said. Mine, he said. Before that, someone else's. Before that, he looked at the compass. I don't know. It's been around. She did not see her mother approaching until she heard the sound of heels on the border between grass and gravel. Lydia Ashworth was 12 feet away. In closing, she was not looking at Maya. She was looking at the cameras that were following her, and she was wearing the expression of a woman who had just identified a problem and was in the process of solving it in a way that would look, to anyone watching, like love. And I, Lydia Ashworth, had been managing situations for 22 years. She had looked at the scene from 20 feet away and run the calculation in the time it took to hand her champagne glass to the nearest server. What the cameras were seeing, a young woman on the grass, clearly distressed, with a man in a catering uniform sitting beside her, holding something metallic. What the cameras needed to see, a mother moving toward her daughter. She was moving. Caleb saw her coming before Maya did. He watched her approach with the specific attentiveness of someone who has learned to read the difference between a person moving toward something and a person moving toward a camera that is pointed at something. Lydia Ashworth was moving toward the camera. Maya. Her voice was warm. It was a specific warmth, the warmth of someone who has practiced warmth until it arrives on cue without the delay of actual feeling. Sweetheart, what's wrong? Maya looked up at her. She did not answer. Lydia looked at Caleb, then at the compass in Maya's hand, then at Caleb again. I think my daughter needs some space, she said. She said it at a volume that was slightly louder than necessary for a conversation at this distance. She's okay, Caleb said. I can see that she's okay, Lydia said. I'm her mother. I would like some time with my daughter. Of course, Caleb said. He began to stand. What happened next happened quickly. Later, people who were asked to describe it used different words. She grabbed it. She knocked it. She just sort of pushed at it. What the cameras recorded was this. Lydia Ashworth's hand made contact with the compass at a speed and angle that sent it from Maya's hand to the ground. And then, because the ground at the eastern edge of the lawn was softer than the maintained center, into the mud, the compass landed face down. The needle, inside its glass case, continued to point north. The silence lasted approximately 2 seconds. Then Lydia said, "I don't know who you are or what you think you're doing, but you are not going to sit here and put things in my daughter's hands and fill her head with whatever." She stopped. She looked at the cameras. She recalibrated. "My daughter has a condition," she said. "She is not well, and whatever you were trying to do, I'm sure you meant well, but you were not helping. You are a member of the catering staff. You should be doing your job." Caleb stood completely still. He was looking at the compass in the mud, not at Lydia, not at the cameras, at the compass. "You need to leave this area," Lydia said. "Now, or I will have you removed." Caleb looked up. He looked at Maya. She was looking at the compass in the mud, with the expression of someone watching something that was just given to them be taken away before they were finished understanding it. "It belongs to me," he said. "It is on the ground," she said. "Leave it, and leave this area." "Mum." One word. Lydia turned. Maya was still sitting on the grass. She had not stood up. She was looking at her mother, with an expression that Lydia had not seen on her daughter's face before. "He was helping me, Maya. We will talk about this. He was helping me." She said it a second time, not because she thought her mother hadn't heard, but because she had not yet decided whether saying it again would change anything, and she needed to know. It did not change anything. Lydia looked at her daughter for 1 second. Then, she looked at the camera that was 6 feet to her left. Thomas put his hand on Caleb's arm. Caleb went, not because he was afraid, not because he agreed, because Thomas was doing his job, and Caleb understood what it meant to do a job that required you to do things you might not choose if the choice were yours. He had gone perhaps 30 feet when he heard a sound that was different from the ambient noise of a 400-person event. He stopped. He turned. Harold Sterling was 75 years old. He was walking toward the compass in the mud. He reached it. He crouched. He was 75 years old, and he crouched on the grass of a Hamptons lawn without hesitation. He picked up the compass with both hands. He took the handkerchief from his breast pocket. It was silk, white, monogrammed with an H in the upper corner. He began to clean the mud from the compass casing, slowly, the way you clean something that deserves to be cleaned carefully. The lawn had gone quiet, in the specific way that 400 people go quiet when they all simultaneously understand that something is happening that they should watch. Sterling cleaned the compass. He turned it over. He read something on the back. He was quiet for a moment. Then he stood. "That will be all, Thomas," Sterling said. Thomas stopped. Sterling looked at Caleb. "I wonder," he said, "if you would be willing to give me a moment." And Harold Sterling did not explain himself immediately. He looked at the compass in his hands for a moment longer. The way you look at something you are not entirely certain you are ready to speak about. And then he looked at Caleb. "How long have you had this?" 11 years, he said. Sterling nodded, not the nod of someone receiving new information. The nod of someone whose existing information has just been confirmed. "May I show you something?" He turned the compass over. On the back, in letters too small to read from more than a foot away, engraved into the brass, 2 initials. CR. "Those are your initials," Sterling said. "Yes," Caleb said. "They were not always." Caleb looked at him. "Before they were yours," Sterling said, "there were different initials here. My father told me." He said the man who gave him this had scratched out his own initials with a nail before he handed it over, because he said a compass should point somewhere new, not keep pointing back to where it came from. "I have been looking for the man who gave my father this compass for 31 years, he said. "My father described him once. He said, there was a young soldier who sat down next to me when I could not stand up. He didn't say anything. He just sat there. And then he gave me the one thing he had in his pocket that could tell us which direction was out." Sterling looked at Caleb. "I did not expect to find him at a fundraiser in the Hamptons in a catering uniform." Caleb said, "Your father was the man with the leg." Sterling was very still. Yes, he said. He kept asking me which way was south. Caleb said. I didn't understand why. Later I figured out he was from Georgia. He wanted to know which way was home. Sterling looked at him for a long moment. He died in 2019, he said. He asked about you. Not by name, he didn't know your name. He asked about the young man with the compass. I didn't know who he meant until he described it. By then it was too late to look. Caleb said nothing. There was nothing to say. That would be adequate. And he knew it, and Sterling knew it, and they stood together, in the specific silence of two people who understand that some things do not require a response, only a witness. Sterling walked back, toward the center of the lawn. 400 people were still there. The music had stopped. Sterling stopped in the center of the lawn. He did not reach for a microphone. He spoke the way people speak, when they have spent 75 years in rooms that required them to be heard. I want to tell you something, he said. The 400 people who had been talking stopped talking. In 1984, my father was wounded in Beirut. He was in a position from which the likelihood of extraction was not high. A young soldier, not his unit, not his assignment, sat down next to him, stayed with him, got him out, and before they were separated, gave him the one thing he had in his pocket. He held up the compass. My father kept this for 35 years. He gave it back to the man he received it from. Before he died, he did not know the man's name. He knew only that he was the kind of person who sat down when sitting down was what was needed. Sterling looked at Caleb. I have just been informed that this man's name is Caleb Reed, that he served 2 tours in Iraq, that he has been working tonight as a member of the catering staff. He paused, and that the compass was thrown into the mud approximately 4 minutes ago by someone who did not know what it was. The 400 people did not make a sound. Lydia Ashworth did not make a sound. The cameras did not move from Sterling's face. And then they did move, slowly, toward Lydia's. Sterling walked to Caleb. He held out the compass. Caleb took it. Sterling said, quietly enough that only Caleb heard. My father said, you told him something while you were waiting to be extracted. He said you told him. The compass doesn't tell you where to go. It only tells you where you are. The rest is up to you. I don't remember saying that, Caleb said. He remembered it. Sterling said, that's enough. Maya had been standing for the past 4 minutes. She had stood up at some point during Sterling's speech. She could not have said exactly when. She was standing in the middle of 400 people who were all looking at various things. At Sterling, at her mother, at Caleb, at their phones, and she was looking at the compass in Caleb's hand, the needle, pointing where it always pointed, not caring where it was, not caring what had just happened, not caring about the cameras, or the career, or the 4 months of planning, just pointing. She thought about what he had said when he sat down beside her, on this same grass. The needle doesn't care where you are. She thought about where she was. She thought about where she had been for the past 24 years, standing in the right place, wearing the right expression, saying the right things, at the right volume, and how none of that had ever told her what the needle was telling her now, which was simply, here. You are here. Now you decide what to do with that. She opened her mouth. She had not planned what she was going to say. She was not going to perform it. She was not going to aim it at the cameras. She said it for the same reason. Caleb had sat down on the grass, because it was what was needed, because she was the one who needed to say it. She said, I know which way is north now. 5 words. She did not explain them. The people who understood them. The cameras caught them. And I. Lydia Ashworth left the gala at 9:47 p.m. The photographs were already moving. The clip of Maya, 5 words, no microphone, no performance, had been posted by 3 different people. Before Lydia reached her car, she did not watch it. She knew what it contained. The people who would normally have run interference were standing on the lawn, watching a 75-year-old man shake hands with a delivery driver, and they had made, each of them, a private calculation about where it was better to be standing at this particular moment, and none of them had concluded that it was better to be standing next to Lydia. The car pulled out. The cameras watched it go. Then they turned back toward the lawn. Sterling and Caleb stood at the edge of the property, near the hedge line. My father talked about the war, the way some people talk about a country they visited once, he said, as though it was real, but also as though it was separate. A place that had its own rules, that didn't transfer. He paused. Except for this, he talked about this differently. He said, there are things that happen in war that you carry, and then there are things that happen to you in war. that other people carry for you, because you couldn't, because you were the one who was down. He said you didn't talk much, you just sat. And then when the extraction came, you put the compass in his hands, and you said, "You're going to need to know which way is out." Is that how it happened? Something like that, Caleb said. I don't remember it the way he did. I remember there was a man on the ground, and the ground was loud, and I sat down, because sitting down was the thing to do. Why? Sterling said. You didn't know him. I knew him enough, he said. He was there. I was there. That's enough to know someone. Maya found them at 10:04. She would have difficulty explaining afterward exactly what she had been doing in the 17 minutes between her mother's departure and this moment, standing. Mostly standing. She had been doing the thing that Caleb had described, not finding North, which was the part that happened later, but first the other part, the part before. Figuring out where she was. The thing you said earlier, about the needle. Yes, he said. You said it to someone else first. I say it to myself mostly, he said. Whenever I need it, which is more often than it probably should be. Does it work? She said. I mean, does it actually work? For you? Sometimes, he said. Not always. Sometimes North is just North, and you still don't know what to do with that. When you sat down next to me, did you know who I was? No, he said. Did it matter? No. He said. Why not? Because you were sitting on the grass, and you needed someone to sit on the grass with you. That's the whole of it. The rest. He turned the compass once in his hand. The rest is just weather. Sterling said good night at 10:19. He shook Caleb's hand, not the handshake of a transaction, the handshake of a man who has wanted to do a specific thing for a long time and has finally done it and is complete. He looked at Maya. Your 5 words, he said, were the most honest thing said at this event. Possibly at any event I have attended in the past decade. He said it without irony and without performance. Then he walked back toward the main house. Can I keep it? Maya said, just tonight. I'll give it back. She was looking at the compass. Caleb looked at it. He thought about the soldier before him, who had scratched out his own initials before handing it over, because a compass should point somewhere new. He thought about Maya, standing on the lawn and saying 5 words. Without a microphone, without a plan, without anyone to tell her. It was safe to say them. Keep it, he said. It's been around long enough. It knows how to find its way back, if it needs to. She looked at it. The needle settled, pointing where it always pointed. I don't know what happens next, she said. That's all right, he said. The compass doesn't either. It just knows where North is. Everything else. He picked up his wine trolley from where he'd left it near the hedge. Everything else is the part you figure out as you go. He started walking back toward the service entrance. He did not look back. He had gone perhaps 40 feet when his phone buzzed, a text from the catering manager, asking where he was. He texted back. He continued walking, the string lights above him, through small circles of gold on the gravel path. He passed through the service entrance. The door closed. The gala continued without him. There are nights that end differently than they begin, not because of grand gestures, or speeches, or the particular things that get recorded and replayed, but because someone sat down on the grass. Caleb Reed had done many things in his 38 years. He had gone to places that required going to. He had come back from those places, which not everyone manages. He had spent 11 years carrying a compass that told him where North was, and had not always known what to do with that information. He had sat down on a lawn in the Hamptons, next to a young woman who needed someone to sit down, and that, of all of it, was the thing that ended a career and started something else that did not yet have a name. He would find out from the news the following morning, over coffee. He would look at the story. He would read his name. He would look at the photograph, G20240847, and he would think, that was a good compass. I hope it finds North, wherever it is now. Has anyone ever sat down next to you when you needed someone to sit down? I want to know what that cost them and what it gave you. I'll see you next week.